He was a tough nut, Gene Hackman, but he was also really good and really difficult. Gene Hackman was a Hollywood icon who lived a quiet retirement far from the spotlight. His death seemed to be from natural causes, but there were still unanswered questions that pushed investigators to dig deeper while they waited for toxicology results. New evidence at the scene of the crime could challenge the official timeline and raise unsettling questions about what really happened in Hackman's last days. And investigators are now looking at key details. One big question: was there more to this tragedy than people first thought? Stay with us, because the truth might be more dangerous than we think. A private life in the public eye, Gene Hackman's career in Hollywood lasted more than 40 years, making him one of the most respected and versatile actors of his time. He was known for giving every role depth and authenticity. Hackman had a special knack for playing complex, often flawed characters that people could relate to. His big break came and Hackman was nominated for his first Academy Award in 1967 for his role as Buck Barrow in Bonnie and Clyde. He went on to win 2 more Oscars for Best Actor in The French Connection, 1971, and Best Supporting Actor in Unforgiven, 1992, solidifying his place among Hollywood's elite. Whether he played a tough detective, a crooked politician, or a conflicted anti-hero, Hackman's performances were always powerful, leaving a lasting impression on the industry. Hackman was also admired for his hard work and dedication to the craft. Unlike many of his peers, he avoided the traps of celebrity culture and instead focused on giving great performances instead of chasing fame. In interviews, he often talked about how he wanted to keep his personal life private so that audiences could fully immerse themselves in his characters without any preconceived notions. This approach helped him become known as an actor's actor, someone who valued stories over fame, and his ability to disappear into roles made him one of the believable and captivating actors of his time. And his work with legendary directors like Francis Ford Coppola, Clint Eastwood, and William Friedkin only added to his legacy. If we talk about Hackman's personal life, he was a very simple and humble person. He married his first wife, Fay Maltz, in 1956, and they had 3 children together before getting divorced in 1986. He then married a classical pianist and lived a quiet life in Santa Fe with her. Hackman stopped acting in 2004 and started a new career as a novelist by co-authoring some historical fiction books. Even his fans were sad about it, but they admired his decision to leave Hollywood when he was at the top of his game. Hackman was a truly respected figure in the industry, and many actors and filmmakers looked to him for inspiration in their own careers. His retirement didn't change anything, though, and his impact on movies will last forever. Hackman's works, like the Royal Tenenbaums, are studied by aspiring actors because they tell great stories that don't get old. Directors and actors often praise Hackman's realism and subtlety in his performances, which means that his work is timeless. His death in 2025 left Hollywood with an overwhelming number of tributes to him, with many saying that he was one of the last great actors of a golden age in filmmaking. Gene Hackman's death caused a void in the film industry that won't go away for long, because Leah Hackman is remembered for his unforgettable performances that changed the world of cinema for generations to come. But even as Hollywood celebrated his incredible legacy, disturbing questions about his last days began to come up. Gene Hackman, the legendary actor, died of heart disease about a week after his wife Betsy Araki died of a virus linked to rodents in their New York home. Officials in Mexico confirmed on Friday that both deaths were natural, putting an end to a lot of the speculation that started after their bodies were found on February 26th. While this confirmed that there was no foul play, it raised new questions about Mr. Hackman's mental health, given that he has advanced Alzheimer's disease and why the couple went missing for such a long time. Ms. Arakiwa's last known activities were running errands on February 11, which was her last known activity. There was no sign of her moving or talking after that day, so police think she probably died that same evening. Mr. Hackman, 995, is thought to have died on February 18, about a week later. Dr. Heather Gell, New Mexico's chief medical examiner, confirmed these findings based on forensic analysis. The timeline suggests that Mr. Hackman may have been confused because of his Alzheimer's and may not have known his wife had died or been able to get help during that time. The story of how they were found brings home the horrible circumstances of their deaths. For example, Mr. Hackman was found on the floor of the mudroom next to his cane, which suggests he may have fallen there after having a hard time getting around. Miss Araki was found in the bathroom lying on a counter next to common medications. No one was responsible for her death. No one noticed until February 26th when maintenance came to their house east of Santa Fe and knocked on the door. Growing worried that no one answered, the worker shocked a guard who promptly called emergency services. The late discovery of the couple raised concerns about elderly care isolation and the social problems that Alzheimer's can cause. Due to Mr. Hackman's poor judgment, it is unclear whether he knew his wife had died or if he tried to get help. A complicated timeline further emphasizes how helpless older people are who live alone even when they are wealthy and have access to resources. It observes the sweet sorrow of the death of an actor loved by many. This sad story about Mr. Hackman's and his wife's deaths brings to light the importance of community support and elder care toxicology and medical analysis. The toxicology report is a key part of the ongoing investigation into Gan Hackman and Betsy Arakiwa's deaths. Police are waiting for detailed results to find out if any substances played a role in their deaths, especially Betsy's. Investigators are looking into whether medications, environmental toxins, or undiagnosed health problems played a part in the tragedy. The discovery of an orange prescription bottle at the scene of the crime has raised more questions about Betsy's medical care in the weeks before she died. Another thing that is being thought about is whether she was being treated for Han virus, a rare but serious illness caused by rodent-borne pathogens. If this virus played a part if she died, it could mean a bigger public health risk that needs to be looked into further at their Santa Fe home. Detectives are looking at her medical history and talking to experts to see if any of her symptoms or treatments could have had unintended effects. Hormonal hirsutism can cause flu-like symptoms, and if they aren't treated properly, they can cause breathing problems or organ failure. Authorities are looking at the company's digital and financial records to figure out what happened before she died. The investigator seized 2 cell phones from the house. Any communications from them could provide important leads. Were there any doctor's appointments, suspicious prescriptions, or strange messages? Were there any financial transactions like prescription purchases or medical bills that could help figure out when Bet got treatment for the Han virus or another illness? In conclusion, the delay in the toxicology report is a major problem while more information is being gathered. Sheriff Mendoza said it was important to tie up all the loose ends so that no important information was missed. Expert Paul Morrow said that subpoenas and medical records take time, but they're necessary for a good and open investigation. More pieces of information are coming in May, which means that toxicology could be the last piece of the puzzle, either confirming a natural death or pointing out something that needs to be looked into. But while investigators were waiting for toxicology results to come back, an unexpected revelation threatened to throw the official timeline of events into chaos. There are new questions about the death of Gene Hackman's wife, Betsy Arakawa, after a local doctor said she called his clinic the day after authorities said she had died. According to the Santa Fe Medical Examiner, Betsy died of the H virus on February 11. But Dr. Josiah Child, a doctor at Cloudberry Health in Santa Fe, said she called his office on February 12th. Dr. Child also said that she had originally made an appointment for that date, but later canceled it because her husband was sick. However, she reportedly called again in the morning of February 12th and made an appointment with another doctor for that afternoon, which she never went to. This goes against the official timeline set by the authorities and raises questions about how she died if Betsy were still alive on February 12th. As Dr. Child's records show. It would be a blow to the medical community. An investigation by the medical examiner and a call for more questions have added to the confusion surrounding the case. Betsy was seen running errands in Santa Fe on February 11th, looking healthy and very active. Could it be that the fact that it is a very rare and severe respiratory illness that takes a few days to develop has given experts doubts about how to explain her sudden, unnoticed death at home? An unnamed Los Angeles-based doctor has said that a death outside of the hospital is quite unusual, that people who died of the Han virus and had respiratory failure were likely to get worse and make it to a hospital before finally giving up. Betsy was found on the bathroom floor of the couple's Santa Fe home, surrounded by pills. Gene Hackman was found in a utility room about 20 feet away. Authorities decided that he probably lived for about a week after his wife's death, suffering from advanced Alzheimer's, before they found out that he had died on February 5th, 18th, and an autopsy showed that he hadn't eaten in days. One of the 3 dogs, a Kelpie mix, was found starving and dehydrated in a crate, showing that no one had been able to care for the pets during that time. But with Dr. Child's new timeline, investigators may need to look again at whether Betsy really did die on February 11th, or if other things caused her sudden death. This adds fuel to the fire over who will get Hackman's estimated $80 million after he dies. There are still a lot of questions about what happened in the Hackman home because all of his assets were put into a private trust. He had 3 children from a previous marriage, but the details of his death are still unknown. Investigators and lawyers are looking more closely at the couple's finances and medical care in the days leading up to their deaths because of the differences in when they say she died and what caused her death. It remains to be seen if new evidence will come forward to solve the mystery. Many people are still guessing about what happened in the Hackman home and how their dog Xena. The deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakiwa have gotten a lot of attention, but what happened to their dog Xena has added another layer of mystery to the case. An autopsy showed that dehydration and starvation were likely the causes of death, which raises questions about how long the couple had been unconscious before police found their bodies. A report from the State Department of Agriculture's veterinary lab said that Xena, a Kelpie mix, had partially mummified due to severe decomposition, making it hard to figure out any other health problems that may have caused its death. The dog's stomach was mostly empty with only small amounts of hair and bile, suggesting that it had not eaten for a long time. At first, investigators thought that it might have been poisoned or hurt, but the necropsy ruled out both as causes of death. There was no sign of an infectious disease, which supports the idea that the dog probably died because it had been neglected for a long time after its owners died. Xena's body was found in a crate inside a bathroom closet near Betsy's body. 2 other dogs in the house managed to survive, though details about their conditions are still unknown. The discovery of Xena's body has also led to rumors about when the house event happened. Authorities have confirmed that G. Hackman was mentally ill, with advanced Alzheimer's disease, probably would have lived for 7 days after his wife died without realizing it. Because of his illness, he may not have been able to properly care for himself and the animals, which is a sad case of neglect, where perhaps the dog's most basic needs were not met. The couple's isolated lifestyle would have made this neglect worse by preventing an early intervention that could have possibly saved Xena's life. As the case goes on, it brings up ethical questions about how vulnerable older people are when they have degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. From the investigators' point of view, the whole chain of events that led to the deaths of Gene, Betsy, and their pet becomes a major focus since they are still going through digital history and other sources of evidence to figure out the last days of the Hackman family. Xena's heartbreak deepens when a shocking truth comes to light. It's a sad reminder of how fragile people with cognitive problems are and what happens when they don't have the help they need. In a legal battle over privacy, the estate of the late actor Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakiwa has moved to stop the release of private photos and videos from the investigation into their deaths. On Tuesday, the estate's lawyer Julia Peters of the Summer Udall law firm asked the Santa Fe Sheriff's Office and the local local medical examiners should keep certain documents from the public, such as photos, autopsy reports, and police body camera footage from the scene. The estate says that releasing these materials would go against the couple's lifelong commitment to privacy and could cause unnecessary stress for their family. The legal filing emphasizes that Hackman and Araki took deliberate steps to live a private life that avoided media attention and public scrutiny during their more than 30 years of living in Santa Fe. It's clear that the public is very interested in this case, so Hackman's estate is trying to stop any sensationalism from talking about how he died. Hackman is a Hollywood legend, but this sealing bid has caused a debate between people's right to privacy and the public's right to know what happened. Hackman died of heart failure on February 18th, 2 days after his wife died of high-risk pulmonary syndrome a week earlier, but a lot is still unknown about their last days. Their bodies weren't found until February 26th, when maintenance workers went into the New Mexico ranch and called the police. Hackman's pacemaker was last activated on February 18th, which suggests that they died in a few days, during which no one knew what was wrong with them. During this time, many questions about their health and living conditions fueled the investigation. Limits on public interest and media criticism would make it hard to let someone die without any responsibility for how the state handled the case. Concerns have also been raised about information possible blocking that keeps the full picture of how the case was handled from being seen. The discovery of the Hun virus at the couple's home would almost certainly have public health effects, since the Hun virus is known to spread through rodents. Levon and others say that these issues can be best understood by making case files public as the saga. As the courtroom drama continues, there is still a lot of public debate about privacy rights versus the public interest. The story of Gene Hackman's last days was told while the privacy battle went on, and those closest to Hackman were left to deal with their grief while the world watched and wondered how his family and friends would react. Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa died, and soon after the news spread, Hackman's 3 children, Christopher, Elizabeth, Leslie, released a heartfelt statement about their grief. They talked about Hackman as a Hollywood icon, but also as a devoted father and grandfather, emphasizing the deep personal loss they felt beyond the public mourning. His granddaughter Annie talked about the cherished memories she had with her grandfather, remembering his wisdom, humor, and warmth. The fact that Hackman and Arakawa died so close to each other added another layer of grief, leaving their family struggling to deal with the tragedy while facing public speculation about what happened, the circumstances of their deaths. One of the saddest moments was when police called one of Hackman's daughters on speakerphone to talk about what happened to his 2 surviving dogs. She was so upset that she was reportedly unable to speak, leaving an eerie silence as the tragedy hit her hard. Her response showed how sudden and shocking Hackman's death had been for those closest to him, since even his family had no idea that his health had been getting worse so quickly. Hackman himself said that he had always kept his personal life private, which may have added to the shock of his untimely death. Veteran actors in the entertainment industry paid tribute to him, and Hackman's family did the same. Clint Eastwood, who worked with Hackman in Unforgiven, called him one of the most instinctive and authentic actors of our time. Director Francis Ford Coppola said that Hackman's performances were powerful, raw, and deeply humane, and he praised his ability to inhabit any role. According to Bill Murray, Hackman had high standards for both actors and directors on set, but those standards meant that only the best work would do. All the tributes painted a picture of an actor who was incredibly talented and highly regarded by his peers for his hard work and dedication. Younger actors never saw Hackman act in real life, but his movies inspired them. Viola Davis has spoken out about her admiration for Hackman's work, calling him a master of his craft and attesting to the indelible impact of Hackman's fans from all over the world. Took to social media to share their tributes, posting clips of some of his most famous roles, and talking about how much depth Hackman brought to every performance. The suddenness of his death is still a mystery, but the outpouring of love and respect from family and the Hollywood community is proof that he will be remembered as one of the greatest actors of all time. If you found this story as shocking as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, tell us what you think, and subscribe for more mind-blowing mysteries. Don't miss the next video, which you can see right here on the screen.